in the NL West. The hard times continue for the Angels. They lost all 4 games in Toronto. The Angels will finish the season 0-7 against Toronto. The LA Sparks had a great opportunity Sunday to snap their 6-game losing streak, but they blew a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter at Dallas. The Sparks ended up losing by 3. They were outscored 40-18 in the fourth quarter. At 6-24, the Sparks have the WNBA's worst record. Florida A&M, the defending black college football national champion, held on for a 1-point win over Norfolk State. Florida A&M wins the SWAC MEAC Challenge. The annual classic between the two conferences kicks off the HBCU football season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money Talk.
Here's what happens when you advertise on KBLA Talk 1580.
3, possibly 4 weeks ago, I heard an advertisement on your radio station from a company called Grid Solar. I would love to have that phone number so I can reach out to them with reference to solar panels being installed on my property.
Our listeners are aware and engaged, but more than that, they are loyal. When they hear empowering messages that uplift their community and help them live better lives, they respond. No medium reaches this coveted black audience like KBLA Talk 1580. So, hit us up today at smb@kbla1580.com and let us help you connect with our loyal listeners. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Money to put.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first, When Brains Dream. When Brains Dream. We will talk about what dreams are, where they come from, what they mean, and what purpose they serve, when we are joined by author and director of the Harvard Center for Sleep and Cognition, Dr. Robert Stickgold. On the B side of Hour 2, the U.S. Mint is now led by its first ever black female director. Check that out. The Mint is now run by a sister. Her name is Ventress Gibson, and we will speak with her about the Harriet Tubman commemorative coin, which I have right in front of me here on my desk, and more when she joins us on the backside of Hour 2. In our third hour, 2 more conversations. Up first,
First Donahue Show, November 7th, 1967. It was the Phil Donahue Show, very cleverly named. Madeline Murray, 10:30 a.m., Channel 2, Dayton, Ohio. There's no God, there's no heaven, there's no hell, there's no angels. When you die, you go in the ground and you biodegrade as the worms eat you. Well, honest to goodness, I didn't think I was going to be able to get out of the building. I mean, can you imagine? People went berserk. Guys would finish their haircut in the barbershop and stay until the show. They couldn't take their eyes off this woman who was out there railing about. We knew that we were visually boring. We knew that, if callers are going to call, it's going to be like watching paint dry. We knew if we had any chance to succeed, we couldn't be talking about juvenile delinquency or all these, all these broad, very imprecise issues that are often discussed at Rotary Club meetings and other places. We knew we had to have personalities who moved you to go to that phone and make a phone call. I mean, truly, she almost paralyzed the entire Baldwin Exchange, which is what we were on then in Dayton, Ohio. I mean, people couldn't get their doctors, hospital. I mean, really, the response was so intense that we paralyzed part of the phone system in Dayton.
On the top side of hour 3, a tribute to my friend and brother, TV legend Phil Donahue, who passed away last week while we were in Chicago at the DNC. Will be joined by writer David Masiotra on how Phil Donahue showed us all that open-mindedness is crucial for democracy. That might be the theme of this show today, after what I saw last week in Chicago, that open-mindedness is crucial for democracy. That said, on the B side of hour 3, a conversation with Middle East expert Trita Parsi about the escalating tension and conflict between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon as the war in Gaza rages on. There's that word again. Open-mindedness is crucial for democracy. But in this first hour, a post-mortem on the DNC last week in Chicago. On the B side of this hour, we'll chat with my colleague here in L.A. and founder of the Black PAC, Adrian Shropshire, and get her reflections. But we commence today's show talking politics with Braxton Booker, national political correspondent, if I can get it out, for Politico. Braxton, good to have you back, sir. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. Made it to Chicago, had a great time, made it back to L.A., and here we are back at it again, and I'm honored again to have you lead off this program. Let me just start with a couple of broad questions. I've got my own thoughts I'm going to share with the audience. I didn't get a chance to do this last week in Chicago, but trust and believe, I was scribbling notes every day that I wanted to share with my audience today to offer my own reflections on what I saw last week. A lot of it disappointed me in Chicago. If you're still listening to me after all these years, I suspect you're listening because you know that my mantra here with humility is to challenge you to re-examine the assumptions you hold, to expand your inventory of ideas. And I had some real problems what I saw in Chicago last week, even as I celebrate the ascension of Kamala Harris as the DNC nominee, Democratic Party nominee. I celebrate that, but I've got some real questions as I look at last week through the lens of the best of our tradition. I'm watching Kamala, but I'm thinking about Malcolm X, whose campus I had to walk through to get inside the building. I'm watching Kamala, but I'm thinking about Martin Luther King Jr. and that triple threat of militarism, and racism, and poverty. I got a lot of commentary that I'll offer. Maybe Adrian and I will get into some of that on the backside of this hour. But that said, just give me your opening salvo broadly on what you saw last week in Chicago.
Well, I jokingly said this to my wife when I got home from the convention, that this was very much the blackest convention I've ever been to. The amount of people that we saw in the stands, inside the United Center, but also the number of speakers that we saw just really drove home the fact that black folks are kind of the heartbeat of this party. And I think that with Harris being on the top of the ticket, that was really showcased. And it really was about coalition building and putting on, a really good show. And for the people who attended, I've never seen people more happy to be at a convention. And I think that both speaks to where Democrats were just a month ago, thinking that they were going to be attending, this knockdown, drag-out fight on the floor about who would succeed Biden. There was questions about whether or not Biden would actually, dig his heels in and just remain the party's nominee and where the party was going to go. But I think all those things were cast aside, and folks had a really good time, got re-energized, and are now prepared to go out and, in this closing stretch of the campaign, try to deliver history for Kamala Harris.
No question about it. We'll talk about that coalition building and how we deliver that history for Kamala Harris between now and November, when we continue our conversation with a national political correspondent for Politico, Braxton Booker, our guest on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Hey LA, today I'm here to talk to you about Grid Alternatives, which is a nonprofit in LA that focuses on renewable energy. We serve communities who have been left out of the renewable energy sector. We offer paid job training, and in 13 weeks, you can become a solar installer. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry, and once you're hired in the industry, you stop at a high, medium income. That could be $20 an hour or more. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry. Call today so you don't be left out at 323-861-0105 or gridalternatives.org, gridalternatives.org.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent. So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle.
Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Free and Gentle. This back-to-school season, Tide and Downey are giving back with $1.5 million in scholarships. Enter to win. No purchase necessary. US/DC 17+. End September 30th. Rules. Tide.com/scholarship/official rules.
I feel like I'm constantly cleaning hair off my bathroom floor. At least my Swiffer Sweeper makes it easy. Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths have ultra-thick pads to trap and lock hairs, like a hair magnet. And when I'm finished cleaning up my hair, Sweeper takes care of his too. Now the hair's gone, all thanks to Swiffer. Try Swiffer Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths. I promise you'll love them or your money back. And also try Swiffer Sweeper Wet to make quick work of tough, sticky messes.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed with Braxton Booker, who's our leadoff guest today. He's the national political correspondent for Politico. We just kind of get some analysis in this first hour today of what we saw last week in Chicago. We'll be joined by Adrian Shropshire, the founder of Black Pack, on the B side of this hour. But delighted once again to commence today's show with Braxton Booker. Braxton, a data point here that won't surprise you, given that you cover this stuff every day. You probably already know this anyway. But we are told today that Kamala Harris has raised $40 million since her speech. An additional $40 million has come in since she did her thing last Thursday night in Chicago. So no surprise there. She continues to connect. She continues to raise money. The coffers are growing, and that they're going to need it between now and November. Although I've said many times on this program, any number of times, I don't believe this race is really about money. The contrast is so stark. I'm not so sure money necessarily makes the difference. But there you have it, $40 million, an additional $40 million raised since her speech on Thursday night. We'll come back to this notion of coalition building in a second and whether she can do that the way that Barack Obama did 15 plus years ago. But let me go right to her speech. What did you make, since she's raised $40 million since the speech, what did you make covering the speech, Braxton Booker?
You know, it was a very good introduction for folks who really don't know who she is. And it's hard to, think about, like, some people actually don't know very much about Kamala Harris. They know her as the vice president, but because Biden was the lead of the ticket 4 years ago, folks are just now coming around to trying to understand who she is, what makes her. And so half that speech that she made really drove home where she came from. She's coming from middle-class roots. She's driving home the fact that she is the quintessential American story. She's the daughter of two immigrants who came to this country to looking for a better life. Her parents did not stay together, and she found a way to rise through the ranks even with all those challenges put put in front of her. So in that regard, she's painting a picture and telling a story. And then she spent the back half of the speech really laying into Trump and laying into the vision of what it would look like with another Trump presidency. So in that regard, it was a success that she laid out sort of her vision of what America will be like if America does not make the right choice. And for her case, the choice would be voting for Democrats and voting for her. What I thought was missing in the speech is we didn't hear a ton of policy and a ton of ideas about what she would do if she were to get the White House, right? She talked about what you don't want in Trump, but not necessarily how she would get this passed in what we assume is going to be, a very tight margin of control if Democrats take back the House and the Senate, right? She's not going to have these broad margins where she's going to be able to just pass things in her agenda. She's going to have to work with Republicans in order to get this across the finish line if she wants to pass things legislatively. So she didn't really talk about sort of her time and the relationship she built during her time in the Senate, or how she tries to get Republicans who have shown really no willingness to work with Democrats on huge agenda items and policy items, how she's going to convince Republicans to work across the aisle with her.
We agree that she didn't lay out policy, but I didn't expect that either. As you mentioned earlier, this was her opportunity to introduce herself to the nation. I said last week, we know her as the vice president. We know that she was a U.S. senator. We know that she ran for president before and dropped out. We know that she was attorney general in California. We know that she was DA in San Francisco. We know that part. We know she's married to. They've been married 10 years. They had the anniversary last week on the day of her speech, as I recall. That was a moment, I'm sure, for she and her husband, Doug Emhoff. So we know those broad strokes. But to your point, this was an opportunity for her to introduce herself to the nation. She took that opportunity, and I think did just that. She did not go deep into policy, nor did I expect that. But while she did not go deep into policy, clearly, she gives us a frame to critique, a frame to better understand what she would do if, in fact, she were elected. So let me just ask you a few questions about the specifics of what she did say. Were you not concerned or bothered? Did you not hear all the hawkishness in the speech? That reference, that use of the word lethal? I mean, I've never heard a presidential candidate talk about American military might being lethal. I mean, I've said many times on this program that there are going to be questions raised about her ability to be commander-in-chief as a woman. Hillary Clinton couldn't pull this off, that is to say, becoming president, after serving as Secretary of State. Kamala doesn't have that level of experience. She was never Secretary of State. And so I expected her to lay in hard on this to play to an audience that she feels she needs to play to. But that speech was beyond hawkish, Braxton. You didn't pick up on that?
Oh, I did. To me, the biggest thing on foreign policy was the kind of the elephant in the room of her supporting Israel's right to defend itself and sort of giving this stiff arm to the folks in the uncommitted movement. Like, I am not going to the arms embargo like you want, right? Like, I support ceasefire, but arms embargo and making sure that U.S. dollars do not go to funding Israel and the bombs that the U.S. is sending over, we are not touching that right now. That was the biggest thing that stuck out to me, especially given that there were protests in the street and there were 30-some-odd uncommitted delegates in the room that were already upset with the DNC for not having any Palestinian voices on as the speakers at the convention. So that part really stuck out to me, that she is not willing to make these broad leaps away from what the Biden administration has done. So she's taking these very, very much baby steps. But I think to your point about the hawkishness, like, she wants to project strength, right? There are questions about whether or not a woman can do this job. Will she be tough? Will she be tough on our allies? And I think what you're hearing in the speech was sort of her flexing a little bit, like, look, I can lean into this if I have to.
Yeah. See, and I'm okay with the tough. You got to be tough. But hawkish is something very different. So as I said earlier, I'm wrestling with, and my audience needs to know this now, we're going to wrestle with it every day between now and Election Day and after she gets elected, if that happens. And if the choice is her or Trump, let me be clear, that ain't no choice. If you believe that I supported John McCain and Sarah Palin over Barack Obama, put down the crack pipe. If you believe that I supported Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan over Barack Obama and Joe Biden, put down the crack pipe. That ain't what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is how we remain true to the best of our tradition of justice for all, service to others, and a love that liberates people. How do we stay true to the best of our tradition while we support Kamala and hold her accountable simultaneously? So I'm listening to all this hawkishness. And this use of the word, I mean, this ain't just me talking. I'm watching other people saying, did she just say lethal? I'm listening to all this hawkishness that's overboard, and I'm trying to juxtapose that against King in my other ear talking about militarism as one of the triple threats facing our democracy. To your point, let me follow you. On the pro-Palestinian front, this is the Democratic Party. And so many of us in Black America have been raising this issue about the genocide in Gaza. But we set all of that aside last week, waving our USA flags, chanting, holding up our Kamala banners. We set all of that aside, even as the Democratic Party denied a single voice who could humanize the plight of the Palestinian people. I'm not even talking about the politics of it. I'm talking about a speech that could have humanized the plight of the Palestinian people. At this convention, they did not allow a singular voice at the podium. So I'm listening to Kamala, but I'm looking at the frame that we're in, Braxton. And so to your point, that's troubling for me, brother. It's real troubling for me.
Well, it's troubling, but it's also, you have to question whether or not it was politically smart to do that when you know that.
Oh, so now, not to cut you off, I'm being somewhat tongue in cheek here, but now everything is a political calculation. Is that what you're saying to me? That everything is a political calculation?
Well, look, I work in political, so, right? So everything, yes,
yes,
politically calculated.
I just want to make that point. Go ahead.
If you want to win Michigan, I mean, look, throughout this theme of the DNC, the ghost of 2016 was present, right? Hillary Clinton spoke on the first day. Everybody knows that she did not go to Michigan. She did not go to Wisconsin. She barely campaigned in Pennsylvania. So if you want those blue wall states where you have these numbers of uncommitted and you have these folks who are sympathetic to the Palestinian folks, that you should do something more than just go to the rally and make that flex on Tuesday, where the convention happened in Chicago, but you're going to fill up an arena in Milwaukee just to show you can do it. You have to go get those folks who are on the fence about your candidacy and offer an olive branch. She still, to my knowledge, has not had the sit-down meeting with folks with the uncommitted yet. And they're still asking for them to have a conversation to see, like, can she budge at all on any of these issues? So if she wants to win this election, she's going to have to make some kind of overtures to other than promising a meeting.
Well, don't hold your breath on that. Don't hold your breath on that. She has not met with them. Again, they didn't allow a single voice, not even one person for 3 minutes at that podium, to humanize the plight of the Palestinian people. And then you get all these chants of USA, USA. I'm watching this thinking, is this the RNC in Milwaukee, or am I at the DNC in Chicago? The Democrats tried to out-chant, tried to out-nationalize the Republicans. All this nationalism last week troubled me. USA. I said to somebody sitting next to me, this ain't the Olympics. That was 2 weeks ago. I'm okay with chants of USA at the Olympics, but we're talking geopolitics here. Geopolitics. And the nationalism on display last week, Democrats were trying to out-nationalize Republicans. That is not the best of the tradition of the Democratic Party. I can't look the other way on that. And then she utters this line, and this is the one I've been wrestling with for days now. I understand politics, and I'm just making the point, I am not stuck on stupid. Politics is about strategy. And to your point, we laughed about it, but it's as real as rain. I get that politics is a political calculation. What I'm trying to remind us is that we've got to be true to the best of our tradition, which ain't about political calculation. It's about somebody telling the truth. So that when Kamala stands up last week and utters this line, that America is the greatest story ever told, I about fell out my chair. I understand the political calculation, but how do those words come out of the mouth of an American Negro? that America is the greatest story ever told. I digress. Your turn, Braxton.
Well, look. I think you're seeing the renewed Obama playbook, right?
Yeah.
You cannot necessarily lean into all the ills that America is known for, and is that we've all had to live through in order to get to this point. So, look, you saw other speakers do it. Wes Moore is actually the one who kind of leaned into that a little bit more forcefully, saying, like, you don't have to talk about you don't have to ignore the ills of America to say that America is also great, right? You can have both.
Sure.
So she did not really strike that balance, because I think what my interpretation of this was, look, we can be happy, we can be excited, we can also take the mantle back from Republicans about what a patriot actually looks like. A patriot does not have to be someone who's gun-toting and talking about, we're going to protect our freedoms with our Second Amendment rights. It can also be folks who talk about, look, I'm proud to be an American, but because I know what America can be if it gets to the point where we can all agree that this is a great country with all its warts, and we can move past some of the ills of American history. So really what she was doing was trying to project this happiness, this joy. You keep hearing about everybody talking about this joy. That's what I think that speech was about. It was about American joy, trying to get past the darkness that the Trump and his allies are always pushing about America.
Yep. See, if they can nationalize, then I can proselytize, just for a second at least. If they can nationalize Braxton, I can proselytize. When I heard her say, America is the greatest story ever told, and I watch all these Negroes in the audience applauding, I'm looking at most of them, and most of them are Christians. I'm like, whatever happened to the greatest story ever being told, that Jesus went to the cross, died for you, went down and came back up on the third day. But America is the greatest story ever told? Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'm thinking again, finally here, about not allowing any voice to humanize the plight of the Palestinian people. And I'm watching Kamala on Thursday night triangulate, frankly, better than Bill Clinton used to triangulate. He had spoken the night before on Wednesday. She's far better at triangulation in this moment than he was even then. But nobody says a single word. We've been talking about it on this station and everywhere else, but all of a sudden we forgot about it. Nobody said nothing about a particular lobby that aimed their laser. They targeted black congresspersons, and they took them out. They took out Jamal Bowman. They took out Cori Bush, and nobody said a word about that, but everybody acquiesced to that particular lobby in not allowing a single pro-Palestinian voice to get to the podium. I'm out of time. Just some stuff to think about. We'll talk about it more with Agent Shropshire when she comes up next. But I'm delighted, as always, to have Braxton Booker on this program. And this is, again, the best of our tradition. I repeat, we celebrate the historic moment of Kamala Harris last week, but we've got to remain true, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, to the best of our tradition. And that means telling these uncomfortable truths and holding these would-be black presidents accountable. It ain't either or, it's both and. We'll talk to Braxton Booker more between now and November. Braxton, delighted as always to have you inside, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
More Tavis, Smiley, when we come forward.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Free at-home COVID-19 tests will once again be offered by the U.S. government. At the end of September, people will be able to order up to 4 tests by mail. The tests detect newer COVID variants and will be effective through the end of the year. Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will be campaigning in southern Georgia this week, fresh off last week's Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois. Pundits say Harris and Walz are likely to focus their efforts on some of the state's largest black communities. 2 astronauts will remain on the International Space Station for at least another 6 months. NASA said Starliner astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams will come home on a SpaceX capsule in February. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America N.A. Copyright 2024.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers continue to have the best record in Major League Baseball after Sunday's win over Tampa Bay. The Dodgers are 25 games over 500. They have a 3-game lead over Arizona in the NL West. The hard times continue for the Angels. They lost all 4 games in Toronto. The Angels will finish the season 0-7 against Toronto. The LA Sparks had a great opportunity Sunday to snap their 6-game losing streak, but they blew a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter at Dallas. The Sparks ended up losing by 3. They were outscored 40-18 in the fourth quarter. At 6-24, the Sparks have the WNBA's worst record. Florida A&M, the defending black college football national champion, held on for a 1-point win over Norfolk State. Florida A&M wins the SWAC MEAC Challenge. The annual classic between the two conferences kicks off the HBCU football season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Break up with stinky clothes.
Rinse it out. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of the stinks that just will never come out. Oh, Downy the rinse straight. Every now and then I rinse it out. One wash and it delivers. One wash and smells so clean. Downy Rinse and Refresh, it's a dream.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes 100% of odor in just one wash. Guaranteed.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed, and I'm glad about it. As we continue our recap of what we witnessed last week in Chicago. In case you've just tuned in, you missed some of my critique of what I saw last week. Some of it was disappointing for me, even as we celebrate Kamala's rise to be the head, the titular head now, the Democratic Party, as their nominee for the White House in November. Pleased to welcome in now my colleague here in Los Angeles. This station, this program, I should say, is heard across the country on many stations, for which I'm grateful. And I'm grateful again for all those additional stations, some 25 plus, last week across the country, from California to the Carolinas, who carried my special programming last week. Thank you again to all my regular affiliates and all the extra affiliates that we had last week. So last week, this audience heard Adrienne Shropshire. She's a colleague here of mine in L.A. at my home station, KBLA Talk 1580, with a program called The Black Pack every week. But she's also the founder of The Black Pack, the Real Black Pack. And I'm honored once again to be in dialogue with Adrienne. Adrienne, how are you today? You made it back home safely, I hope.
I did indeed, yes.
Good. So let me just jump right in. Again, I'll get back to some of my critiques of what I saw last week, or didn't see, as it were. But broadly speaking, tell me, as the founder of a PAC whose end and aim is to support the best interest of black people, to push back against agendas that are antithetical to the best interest of black people, what did you see last week?
Well, I mean, obviously part of what I saw is what everyone else saw, which is the sort of overwhelming, motivation and excitement. I saw in some ways, I think, I left there thinking, well, that was great.
Yeah.
And now, right, actually, we still have to convince people that they should turn out to vote. And there's a lot of education that has to happen. There's still convincing to be done. So when we think about persuasion, it is not just white voters in the middle of the country that need to be persuaded to vote for Harris. It's actually black folks that need to be persuaded as well. And so, I left there thinking that, that the energy and the excitement and all of that is real. But there's, significant segments of voters that need to be engaged, that need to be persuaded, and they need to be mobilized. And the timeline is short, right? Like the timeline is truncated. And so, I still have anxiety.
Yeah. Let me interrogate a bit of what you said so far. Number one, you mentioned that, she has to do more than just motivate white males to vote for her. Indeed, she has to motivate black voters as well. I'll come back to the white men in just a second, I promise. Put a pin in that for the moment. Let me come to the black voters. I didn't just spend all of my time inside the hall. As a matter of fact, what people didn't see and didn't hear watching me or listening to me last week is that I'm on the air, what was that, 11 to 2 Chicago time. But I went to that hall 3 hours early every morning to be interviewed by a gazillion other people who wanted to interview me because they knew I was there. Right. So I'm doing interviews for 3 hours in the morning before I start my 3-hour show. And then after my 3-hour show, I'm spending a couple more hours in the media center doing more interviews. And then I leave the media center every day to go around the city to be a part of and to see the protests and other stuff that was happening in the city that I wasn't going to see inside the hall. That's just my way. On my very first trip to Israel 30 years ago, I was there as part of a delegation sponsored by a Jewish organization, but that didn't stop me from sneaking away from the group on one day to go across that border. I want to see the other side. That's just my way. So I wanted to leave that convention hall to see what was happening in the streets. And I went to a big rally one day at the park a couple miles away from the United Center because they wouldn't let them close, right? They kept the protesters far away. But this rally, Adrienne, was called Earn the Black Vote. earn the black vote. I was fascinated to stand there. And when they saw me walk up, they all started screaming because they know the Covenant with Black America book. Some of them knew the book was coming out this week. Indeed, it drops. The 20th anniversary edition drops tomorrow. So they asked, we got into this deep dialogue about what it means to earn the black vote. So let me ask you that question, since you mentioned that she still has work to do to get the black vote. What does it mean for Kamala Harris in particular in this election to earn the black vote?
Yeah, I mean, I think that black voters are expressing. I mean, we've been doing door knocking, obviously, in battleground states, in North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, right, and Michigan. In Ohio, we're working on that Senate race in Nevada. So we're talking to folks on the doors, but we're also just going around, so it's similar to what you did, Tavis, and just talking to folks, right, on the street. When a canvasser shows up at your door, you sort of know what they're there for, right? But when someone approaches you on the street, I think people are more open, right, about their ideas. And I think that what we're hearing from folks is that, the economy still looms large, right, in people's minds. I'm not sure that people saw or read the transcripts, right, of her economic speech that she gave. And so there's still a lot of anxiety out there about people's ability to make ends meet. And I know that she definitely has a slogan about that people need to be able to not just survive but to thrive, or whatever the slogan is. And I think that people need to hear that more from her. They need to understand what her approach is going to be to making the economy more equitable and for people to be able to get ahead. And that means people at the lower rungs too. Right. Like, I understand the importance of talking about helping the middle class. But we need to be talking about also how we're engaging with the working class and how we're helping to create pathways for poor folks. Right. And so I think that there's issues that people want to hear about that they need to make sure that they are sort of saturating the markets with, right? So that people understand that there is an agenda, that they are thinking about them, right? Yeah. That they are trying to figure out ways to make sure that people can prosper, and that's real, right? And I think all the other issues are true too, right? Like all the rights issues and people being concerned about racism and the sort of the other side of the equation, that people know what Trump represents and they do not want that, right? That people also need to feel good about casting their vote. And some of that feeling good is obviously about the history that's involved, and we certainly hear that from folks, and people are really clear on what that will mean for us as a community. But people also need to hear the other, sort of more policy-focused stuff in a way that they can understand, and not just a list of here's the 27 policy points.
Whenever I am opining about the mainstream media, particularly when I'm giving speeches to journalism students or journalism classes or schools, I tell people that one of the tricks to doing this really well is to pay attention to what you're not hearing, not what you heard, what you didn't hear. When you read an article, interrogate the article, not for what you read, but for what you didn't read, what was not in the article. That's how you interrogate. That's how you get really good at this. What's not there, what's not said. You got to flip the frame, as it were. So we know what was said. I also know what wasn't said. There wasn't any really, and I didn't expect it. I ain't naive here. I ain't stuck on stupid. I didn't expect her to address any of the issues necessarily that really matter to black people. There's a sense, like Obama 15 years ago, you got the Negroes in your back pocket. You ain't got to address their issues. You got to placate and play to these white men. How do you pull these white male voters across the line? So the speech was exactly what I expected. The question for you is whether or not she succeeded in that. Did she convince these white males, these independents, that she is the better choice?
I'm not sure that the speech was just about white men, though. Right.
Not just about. I'm not saying just about, but that was part of the agenda, though. Clearly it was.
Sure. I mean, I think that I think it's independence. Okay. Right. For sure. And I think that it's white folks in general, right? Like white women and white men who are sitting on the fence or uncertain. I think there's a couple things. One, I think that she certainly hit on a bunch of touchstones, right, that I think were important, right, for the kind of average, white voter to hear about, right, or to understand that she had at the top of her list. Sure. I also think that they know. I mean, the question for the campaign is how much white support can they get, right? And we know that Democrats do not win the white vote. It isn't like she has to get 51% of the white vote to win. If she got that, it would be over, right?
Yep.
I think the question is how can she hold the under 40%, right, of the white vote that Joe Biden got, that Barack Obama got, right? Can she hold where she is right now, which is slightly over 40%, which is sort of means the game is over as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to do that much actually to secure the percentage of the white vote that they need, and for the the folks that they understand that or believe to be movable. I think that she she did well in terms of showing up as the commander in chief, speaking to the foreign policy issues that which is they sort of hit on her, right? Does she have the foreign policy experience?
Yep.
Talking about working class folks and unions, right? Like, so hitting on the theme that they know to be important to those voters.
Let me do this when we come forward. There are three things I want to get to before I lose the top of the hour. I want to talk about coalition building, whether or not she can do that in the way that Obama did. What does that look like? Number one. I want to talk about whether or not she allayed fears that this ticket is too liberal. I want to talk finally about how we, as black people in particular, hold her accountable. I have a very simple frame. I've been in this for 30 years. Respect, protect, correct. That's my frame. Respect, protect, correct. I'll unpack that with Adrian Shropshire when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Tavis is like George and Wheezy. He's moving on up. Last year, Tavis was number 45 on the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. Wait for it. Wait for it. The 2024 list was recently released, and Tavis has jumped to number 33 on the list of the nation's most important talkers, making him the highest-ranked African-American on the coveted roster. Congratulations to Tavis Smiley from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got you black.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Adrian Shropshire, who is the founder of the Black Pack. Adrian, you sit in this chair every week here at my home station in L.A., so you know how this works. The clock is getting tight. Let me speed this up right quick here and make the most of the few minutes we have left. Coalition building. What's your sense of how she goes about building a coalition a la, akin to, or perhaps differently than Obama did 15 years ago?
I mean, I think she's already done that. I mean, we have definitely seen, everyone should take polls with a grain of salt, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. They are not predictive, right? But what we have seen is her really, consolidating the coalition that she needs. We've seen her numbers improve among young people, among black people in general, including black men. We've seen the numbers improve among young people and with Latinos and across the board. So I think that she is beginning to consolidate the coalition that she needs, and the question is, can they sustain that momentum?
The next question is whether or not she and Tim Walz, for that matter, it wasn't just the two of them. There's a whole coterie of people, of course, speaking last week at that podium. Did the Democratic Party then, as it were, allay these concerns that the ticket is too liberal?
Yeah, I think that, so, yes, I think that they did, right? And I think that Tim Walz actually helped with a lot of that, and the other, speakers that they brought in. There was sort of a spectrum, right? Like, there was certainly a lot of people from California, which maybe didn't help, right? But they really brought in the right people and the right voices, from working class folks, right, on up. The young man who was the coal miner, I thought was great and didn't get a lot of play.
Right.
And I think that the reality is that those hits have yet to come.
Yeah.
Right. Like that she is too liberal. She's from Berkeley, not Oakland. Like, that stuff is about to come, and so I think they need to have an answer for that.
It is coming. There were, to Adrian's point, lots of Californians, but not Gavin Newsom. Just reading an article yesterday, reading an in-depth article yesterday. It was quite incisive. That's my word, I guess. It was incisive. This article about Gavin Newsom and how he's learning to do this awkward dance of playing second fiddle to Kamala. He's never done that. And everybody knows he wanted to be president. And now Gavin Newsom has to play second fiddle to Kamala Harris. Go figure. History has a strange way of rolling itself out. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Adrian Shropshire, I will ask her about how black people in particular hold Kamala Harris accountable to the best of our agenda. How do we respect, protect, and correct her when she's wrong? And finally, the news about Donald Trump trying to skip his suggestion that he might skip this ABC debate, which is set for September 10th. The only one they've agreed to so far. There's a debate, speaking of debates, about the microphones, whether the microphones should stay live and hot the entire time, or whether the mic should be muted. And based on that disagreement, Trump is now suggesting he might skip the ABC debate. We'll talk to Adrian about that when we come forward in our remaining moments on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. JD Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed. Limited time. For JD Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Ugh, I've been feeling so sluggish. I'm just kind of blah.
Been there. That's why I take Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites.
But I suppose they taste blah.
Actually, they taste delicious. It's an apple blueberry flavored center covered in a yogurt coating and is infused with probiotics to help support a healthy gut. They come 5 in a pouch. I just toss one in my bag and go.
Toss one in my bag?
Get your own.
New Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites from the makers of the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Find them in the digestive care aisle.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to make your life a little bit easier. Great. Now raise your other hand if you like to be comfortable. Perfect. Now that you have both hands raised, imagine putting on your shoes. And that, folks, right there is your answer to an easier, more comfortable life. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. This is footwear you don't need your hands to put on. They can be raised in the air, and you can just step it and go. Why don't you experience what people can't stop talking about? Life-changing Skechers Slip-ins. Get your Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park,
Los Angeles, California.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and the founder of the Black Pack, Adrian Shropshire. 4 minutes, 2 issues. Here's the first. Trump suggested he might skip the ABC debate with Kamala Harris, set for September 10th, the only one they've agreed to so far. Here's the issue. The Harris campaign wants the mics live the entire time. They want hot mic from beginning to end. Trump wants the mics muted when the other person isn't speaking. That's what the rub is about, we are told, and based on that fight, Trump once again suggested he might skip the ABC debate with Harris. Of course, there's another narrative here, Adrian, and that narrative is that Kamala is starting to spank that booty. She's starting to spank that behind in all these polls, and he don't want none of that. And he don't want none of that smoke. Which do you believe?
Right. Well, it's sort of a shocking reversal, right? Yep. Because you would think Trump would be the one who wanted the mics hot the whole time.
Exactly.
This is any excuse, right? Because he is scared, and he should be scared, right? Not only because of the polls, but because she'll obviously destroy him on the debate stage, and he knows that.
Yep, I'm not sure she's going to destroy him, Adrian. I take your point. I think that's putting too much on it, and I think every time, respectfully, every time a black person says that, we put too much on it.
I think that he will melt down. I think that he will collapse.
Okay.
Right. So not about her great debating skills, such as they are.
Got it.
But he will collapse.
Fair enough. That's a different frame, and I respect that. Here's my exit question with 2 minutes to go. I'll give it to you. And this for me is the ultimate question because she's our candidate, she's our sister, she's our soror, she's our fellow Baptist. She's our sister. And at the end of the day, we're all excited about the possibilities, and yet I believe that we have to hold her accountable. It only ends when she gets elected. It begins then. My frame again is that we have to respect her. We have to protect her from these white supremacist attacks, but we got to correct her when she's wrong. That's my frame. What say you about how we do that in 90 seconds?
Well, I think that there's a couple of things. One, we need to be clear on what it is that we want, right? So we know that there's stuff that didn't get finished in the Biden administration, whether it's voting rights or it's police accountability. There's some education stuff that people care about. There's health issues that people care about. Obviously, there's reproductive rights. So we need to be clear on what we want from her and hold her accountable to those things. But I also think that it's not just about her. We have members of Congress that we also need to have an expectation that they hold her accountable. There's members of the CDC that we need to make sure that they are correcting her. And so when we think about the presidential race, that's important. We also know there's these down-ballot races that we need to make sure that we're getting the right people in there as well. But we have others that we need to be holding accountable to because they have influence at the White House as well.
She is Adrian Shropshire, one of the best, founder of the Black Pack and host of her own program every week on my home station in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580, by the same name, spelled differently. The Black Pack is PAC. That's the organization. Her show is PACK, the Black Pack. She's a busy sister, and I'm honored that she took 30 minutes to talk to us on this program today. Adrian, thank you for your time. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Tavis.
More of Tavis Smiley in the next 2 hours as we come forward, including a special tribute to my friend and brother, the late, great Phil Donahue. I'm happy that you're listening to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Free at-home COVID-19 tests will once again be offered by the U.S. government. At the end of September, people will be able to order up to 4 tests by mail. The tests detect newer COVID variants and will be effective through the end of the year. Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will be campaigning in southern Georgia this week, fresh off last week's Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois. Pundits say Harris and Walz are likely to focus their efforts on some of the state's largest black communities. 2 astronauts will remain on the International Space Station for at least another 6 months. NASA said Starliner astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams will come home on a SpaceX capsule in February. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Cobb.